There we go. Thank you. And if you're more than welcome to come up to the front two seats if you'd like.
Oh, that's pretty.
The microphone.
Come to the witness stands.
I sound like no.
No, you're good.
I'm nervous. All these important people are here today, Daryl. I'm nervous.
Yeah, Jodica and Jessica, but why don't you just go around the room and introduce yourself and where you're from?
Okay.
Jessica, Jody.
Jody Perry from the Chamber of Commerce.
Rebecca Owens, Catholic Charities.
Dwana Patton, Area Agency on Aging.
Adrian Ackerman, City of Mansfield Community Development.
Brady Groves, Richland County Foundation.
Richland County Treasurer.
He shaves with a rake, I might add.
Jealous.
Jyotika Shetty with Richland County Regional Planning Commission.
And Jessica Gribben, Chamber and Economic Development.
And Allie has joined us. Foundation.
So we brought this eclectic group of talented folks here together today to sit before you and ask for your support as we moved forward a housing study and strategy for Richland County. So we all kind of come at this from a different lens, and we hope that you can see that it's clearly a countywide initiative with a lot of different people that have a lot of different interests in housing for various reasons. But we think bringing this particular group together is so important because it just kind of drives home how big of an issue this is and how important we think it is for our county to really invest and get on top of it and make a play for the future within housing because we think that it's very important. So I'll speak just briefly on my take on housing from the economic development side. The reason that I think it's so important for us to look at a comprehensive housing study and strategy is because anecdotally, I think we know that we are missing some things in our housing inventory here in Richland County. And we want to be very clear about what the data tells us, what we are missing. And then from that information, move into the future. So the future of businesses locating places is very much tied to the workforce, and having a strong and able workforce is a detriment of having good housing available for them to live in. So this study, again, we want to see where we're at, where we feel like we know some of it, but we want to get the numbers to back that up, and then use those to create an environment where people want to live, where there's options available for them to live across the spectrum. So again, we've got, interest in market rate luxury housing and interest in attainable housing, because our workforce is all across the board. We need all of those things to make everything work the way it's supposed to. So from my lens, the importance of workforce is paramount. And as we move forward, having good housing stock, appropriate housing stock is going to be the key to success in Richland County going forward.
Thanks, Jessica. I think Jessica, kind of laid a really good case of completing a data-based study for us to strategize and create an action plan for the county. Most so because I think we have been facing a lot of organization having to need to go out and do their own individual studies. Now, this is great by itself, but really taking a comprehensive look at what the county needs, both at the county-wide level and within the individual jurisdictions, I think is going to be crucial, because this is not something that is just market driven. I think there are a lot of forces that drive housing in communities, and public elected officials, need to understand what the housing stock is within the county and strategize, especially with some of the grants and programs that are available out there, to be able to have a unified strategy, lets you collaborate and stack funding to allow for further growth in the housing market. And we really want to make sure that, we have something that a lot of the communities in Ohio are aggressively looking at the housing, completing a housing study, especially in this time when, there's ARPA funds available. And we did hear from the Greater Ohio Policy Center when they were here a couple of weeks ago that one of the 3 issues they would strongly urge elected officials to look at. One was, of course, business development. The second was housing, and the third was transportation. So I think, when they kind of scanned the landscape of all the strategic plans within the county, those were 3 main issues that came up. And so housing has been coming up in a lot of our conversations. And this is really a chance, I think, for us to look at it from not just affordable housing or just attainable housing or just market rate housing, but really take a comprehensive look. And our horizon for this study is 10 years. So we kind of at least, want to make sure that, what is the trends that we are seeing right now, so that, if we need to pivot and make other strategic moves, we are able to do so. So we did kind of put a little handout together for you, I think, which rather than us talking about it, then we can kind of answer specific questions that you may have. So I don't want to just on for too long. I think we would all rather kind of answer any questions that you have. And folks in this room, they've worked with housing for a long time, so I'm sure they would be, more than happy to speak to anything that you may have questions.
And the only
on.
thing I will add before we get to questions, we are asking the county to support this. We are also asking.
Thank you for financial
That's
support.
okay. Yes.
Let's not forget the beginning of.
Yes, there are dollars that are involved with this that we would like you to spend.
You guys can always come and take an active part in our exciting meetings. We have this many people here. I had a feeling there was
There's a dollar ask. There will also be a dollar ask to the municipalities that are participating as well. We want to make sure this is countywide and comprehensive, but also specific to our cities, as there may be different needs across the county, with, Mansfield being one, Shelby being one, some of the villages. There's going to be different needs in those areas. And we want to make sure that this study is comprehensive enough to take in the whole county, but also targets those areas so that we know specifically what we need.
So what's the ask?
We are asking for $40,000 from the county.
What's the total cost of the study? And estimated?
Yeah.
$100,000.
So have you guys identified consultants or experts in this field to do this study?
So we do know quite a few consultants who work actively in the field. We've had consultants who work for nonprofit agencies, CICs. So there are specialized consultants who do housing. Now, without putting an RFP out, we haven't spoken to anybody specifically, but we've informally as a group know consultants who work in the housing
And
field and feel confident that
Yeah.
there's a lot of talent out there who would respond to an RFP.
And comparing kind of our scope that we've developed with other municipalities, we feel like we're fairly confident in that dollar range. I mean, it's in that range.
Do you have a breakdown of the asks you're going to be making in terms of municipalities, land bank, which I presume why the foundation is here, or the land bank, and then potentially the foundation? You guys have that breakdown?
Loosely, we do. I don't know that formally we have it.
So we've talked to the entities, and I asked from them. From the city of Mansfield has been $20,000. From the 2 cities, Ontario and Shelby, has been $10,000. From the village of Lexington, $5,000. Belleville, if interested, we would do the same ask from them. And then the land bank potentially.
Jodica, if I may. The city of Mansfield, we've done the $20,000 request, but we're also going to put an additional $10,000 from Home Investment Partnerships dollars. So
So you guys are putting in 30?
It'll be a total, it would be a total of 30 if
Does that mean ours comes down to 30?
it's, it would, if that's if, of course, that $20,000 is in the 2022 budget. Of course, we'll start having this.
Most of our municipalities are working on budget, but won't have it finalized until end of year or
Ask is for 2022. Is that what I'm hearing?
Can I say something?
No.
I would love to put this RFP out next month. We have it almost ready. The sooner we have it out there, we feel like we have a better chance to get on the consultants radar, because there's a lot of communities currently getting their housing studies done. So I would like to put it out in November and have them under contract at least by January.
So how would the city,
If the county, is able to go ahead and make a 2021
Application.
contribution, that will kind of, I think maybe make it more comfortable for regional planning to go ahead and put that RFP out, because otherwise we're going on a limb here and putting that out, hoping that those dollars come through.
You mentioned other cities and counties are doing this. So is your fear that?
I don't think so. I think what we've heard from the communities has been very reassuring.
I was wondering if you're worried about the consultants being all used up.
Yes, I'm worried about the consultants being already.
A lot of head shake.
that's why we want to act quickly.
Springfield just completed theirs, Portsmouth just completed theirs, so we are seeing a lot of
Crawford County
Yeah.
did one.
just Crawford,
Yeah.
yeah.
last year.
To go.
So just,
Juana, let me ask you a question. I'm awfully interested in senior citizens.
why is that?
So can you, what do you expect to get out of this?
So as most know, the Area Agency on Aging is actively involved in development. And it is our goal to continue, with that endeavor so that we can ensure that seniors in this community and surrounding areas have a place that they can afford and maintain in their home. For us, we do various ways of financing our development. And certainly if we look for any tax credit development or 9% tax credits through OFA, we have to have a market study. So first and foremost, it really is a driver of much of our abilities to get some tax credits and or grants. More importantly than even that is we want to be as strategic as possible. And if we look, if we silo our strategies for senior housing, we're going to miss a big opportunity to really do that collectively in a strategic manner with other developers or other projects. Because what we have found is it's really important in communities to diversify the housing stock so that you have, housing for families and for seniors and, for, people that are working in our communities. So it really gives us a better look or a lens to be extremely strategic when we're investing lots of money in development. We want to do it right. And we certainly want to do it in partnership with other leaders and developers across the county.
It is, you're talking about using government, being able to get government money, you have to have this. And then also, we want to encourage that, but we also want to encourage public funds or private funds coming into, and this ought to stimulate that possibly, or at least they know what would be the right thing to build.
I mean, we're coming off of a time when, everything was being looked at as population loss. Obviously, we've had, the issue of blight in the community for a number of years and taking down houses, which absolutely needed to be done. And there's still some left that still needs to be done. But when we think about the county as a whole and you try to pinpoint where has new development happened, there's pockets of it right now that have happened, more organically, but we think that, having this would help us to really identify development partners that would come in and develop the way that we're looking to have done, whether it's, you know, housing, rental housing for young professionals, downtown housing, or, you know, family housing in the different communities. So yes, we do absolutely hope to be able to, and that has been some of the conversation we've had from the economic development perspective is we're lacking this information. We know it anecdotally, we kind of know it off the top of our head, but when they're looking at running numbers, they want actual numbers.
And,
And that's what we don't have.
and to Jody's point, anecdotally, I had a developer in our office a couple of weeks ago, and they wanted to come in with a development in Ontario. They specifically were asking, like, what is your vision? Like, what do you need in your community? What is your plan? And we want to be able to answer those kind of questions, that we've kind of taken a look at our communities, and these are our needs in our communities. So and these developers are definitely going and talking to other communities. So, you know, they are going to work with the ones that already have identified their needs, and we need to be strategic, I think, while considering that.
Little point, it's also going to identify any barriers that any of the county or municipalities have that may be hindering development. So that's going to be an important part, whether that's zoning, whether that's locations of other businesses or things like that. So it'll identify anything that we may need to look at on a long term.
And give us suggestions for how to you know, stimulate or incentivize these projects happening. I mean, there are things that exist on the books, but other communities have looked at different ways and tools that they can kind of add to their tool belt to work with private developers. And again, like that's having that expertise come in through this study, I think we have all agreed would be really helpful.
And I think hopefully this gives you a little more confidence as well. This group has agreed that, you know, we'll see the study through, and then further, once we have it in our hands and we have those strategies, this group will kind of take the initiative to figure out where those need to go, what buckets they need to lie in, and keep pushing it forward so that we follow the strategy and move housing forward in Richland County.
So Jotica Regional Planning will be the controlling body, so to speak, with respect to the study. Is that the thought process with the study?
Yes, that's the thought process, that we would put the RFP out, we would contract with the consultant to have the study. But this group over here will stay engaged, will kind of guide the process, will continue to meet. And then when the study is done, like Jessica mentioned, continue to steer the process and the strategies at the county.
You guys gone before, are we the first group? What's the process for the asks?
So I have reached out to all the mayors, and both Mayor Hutchinson and Mayor White. I asked them if I needed to come before their council, and they said at this point they're ready to just put it in their budgets and talk to the councils themselves. But if need be, we'll do the same thing. We'll go to the council meetings and make the ask. But they felt confident enough that of just putting it in their budget and talking to their council.
So I have two questions, if I can. Jotica, if I heard you correctly, you said this situation is not just market driven. So if it's not market driven, what's driving it? That's number one. Number two, say we spend $100,000 and we have the study and it says we need more low to moderate income. What does that mean? Where do you go from there? How does that incentivize private developers to do that? Because the study says so. To me, there's got to be a market for them to say, okay, yeah, I understand that, but is that enough for them to put their money up front and start building?
So definitely, as we kind of move through this process and we understand the strategies, it's going to take a lot of collaboration. And I think the public and elected officials are going to be key to driving a lot of the strategies. I think we collectively, as a community, will need to rally around these strategies and make them part of our growth strategy for the county. So and I think I know Duana will kind of speak a little bit to this because she just went through this process. And I know Steve kind of has been having these conversations with his boards also. There are, developers out there who solely do affordable housing, but it's a very, and there is credits and government funding out there that can be tapped for low and moderate income housing. But it is a complicated process and it is a very competitive environment. So they do like to work with communities who understand what they need and understand the process and have the organizational capacity to do so. So one of the things that we are asking the consultants is to kind of help us build that organizational capacity within our county too. So, we can work towards bringing those kind of housing and have those conversations with those developers to come in. And like Jody mentioned, there might be incentives that may compel them to build in Richland County, then go to Crawford County or Ashland County and build those developments.
And I will mention, absent from representation today, but NECIC is also part of this conversation and actively interested in developing.
Steve, did you want to add something?
Sure. You want to just, I don't mean to interrupt you, but so she can note for the minutes, do you want to identify yourself?
My name is Steve Andrews, and I'm the Executive Director at Mansfield Metropolitan Housing Authority, as well as Crawford, Huron, and Seneca Counties Metro Housing Authorities. And we are very interested where Mansfield Metropolitan Housing has not owned a lot of property. We have Turtle Creek, which was built about 35 years ago. It has 158 one-bedroom units. Mansfield has always had a lot of vouchers, affordable housing for many, many people. We have 1,903 vouchers. Currently, we have never had a problem leasing them up fully until COVID hit. And all of a sudden, we now have 235 people out looking for units right now. They have a voucher in hand. The government is ready to help them afford any kind of housing, and they simply cannot find a unit. They can't find rentals anywhere. And with that means the housing stock has been decreasing in Mansfield. The quality has been decreasing in Mansfield, Turtle Creek included. And so we're looking at doing a reacquisition, an acquisition rehab tax credit property with Turtle Creek to sort of turn that around, to start seeing it increase again in its quality. We've had quite a few contractors already through there this week. We're looking at doing some things. More than that, for the first time, Mansfield Metropolitan is ready to start adding new housing stock. We are looking at developing. And this housing study certainly, again, puts us in place where the financing pieces, we have to have a housing study to substantiate the need and make the state regulators and all of those involved, all of the stakeholders need to be aware. Yes, there's need. Yes, this is the right target area. Yes, this is the criteria. And all of a sudden, then they're ready to move forward. But with that many people for the first time that we've struggled to fill vouchers, knowing that we have that many people in the street looking desperately to find a place, they have a short window of time. And we can extend it up to 4 months. But after 4 months of looking, most of them are falling off of our vouchers, and then they have to get back on the wait list at the very bottom again. And that's another 12 to 18 month wait before they can then go and look again with a new voucher in hand. It's a significant problem at every level. Ours is mostly low to mid income and making it affordable and attainable housing, but certainly housing all the way across the board. Once we have the housing, then the low level of housing or the landlords who don't take care of their properties, they right now can do well. Once we have enough housing stock, they no longer can do well because other people have other choices that they didn't have before. That increases the value of all homes across the board. And this isn't just Mansfield, it's across the board. It's a national housing crisis where rents are going through the roof. Either we're on the front end of that curve and we start addressing it now, or we end up catching up later after other communities have beat us to the punch.
Thank you.
I would just add in the market rate side, Cliff, one of the things that we did through Mansfield Rising was look at downtown housing particularly. And, when you're building out housing, it costs what it costs, whether it's here in Columbus. I mean, materials are what they are. I mean, there's some, change potentially in labor rates or things like that. And so particularly for outside developers coming in, it was just like, well, I can develop in Columbus and get rents that are 2 to 3 times what I'm going to get in Mansfield or downtown Shelby or anywhere else. And so, they kind of have identified this as a, potential market, but when they run the numbers, that's where we're coming up short. And so trying to look at how do we fill the gap, and there's ongoing conversations about that. The city has added a CRA incentive, which should help, but there's probably some other things that we need to do to really close that gap. And on that side, the increasing rents probably helps it. It doesn't help on that end, but so yeah, just add that.
Andy, what's the land bank? What is their opinion of this?
We would have to probably take it to our board, discuss with them, and maybe have Jodica kind of speak and see.
Luckily, Cliff and I sit on that board.
Yes.
We just want to mention Bart has been at all our meetings. Yeah.
Look, I don't think we don't have to be consultants and or in the business of conducting these studies to know there's not a situation going on, not just in this country, but our own community that's been in the news here of late. And I think there's a couple factors: COVID, increasing rents, as you discussed. There's something's going on in this country, and that's why I think you see a lot of communities attempting to tackle it when there's also an influx of money that could potentially be used for this endeavor. So whether or not we can use ARPA to reimburse it or not, from where I sit, it's important enough to be a part of it because something's going on. It's obvious. We can look out our window and see that we have a situation going on in our community. Particularly, it seems to be downtown at the moment. I saw it last night going to dinner. So we need to do something. So we're fairly healthy in contingency, right, Stacy? We can ultimately reimburse it. The only issue will be, guys, is the federal procurement rules, right? How does that work? If we, obviously they want to do this now, so we'll probably need an opinion from Keller as to whether or not, one, can we use ARPA dollars? If we can, are we able to just appropriate money to regional planning, or is there a procurement process? If the answer is we got to be part of the procurement process, we just, in my opinion, we need to move forward regardless.
Well, we want to get that opinion before or do it on a contingent.
I say let's use our, I guess I'm one of 3. So I would say let's use contingency, and then you get with Keller since you're the liaison.
And if we can move it over, transfer it to the ARPA, then we can do that. Yeah. That sounds
We got to get moving on this.
motion.
I'll make a motion to utilize funding out of our contingency line item in the general fund of an approximate amount of $40,000 to be when will you have a definitive amount?
Yeah.
Okay, so motion to appropriate approximately $40,000 of our contingency monies toward the housing study.
Thank you.
They're off to say up to.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
very much.
commissioners.
Don't go anywhere,
Okay.
The office.
please. Carl,
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Just a couple of quick questions. Adrian, you had mentioned that, they had mentioned 20,000 from the city, and you had said another 10,000, but I didn't catch where that additional 10,000 would be coming from.
The home investment partnerships grant that would get through HUD.
Okay. And there was a mention that this would, apologize for not understanding what all this stuff means, but when you talk about a 10-year horizon, what does that mean?
So one of the things the consultants will do is look at population projections and trends. So we want them to at least look at a 10-year population projection and what are the different trends among populations. So That could mean our seniors, our disabled folks, our veterans. So within different population, what are the demographic trends, and how does housing affect them?
Okay, yeah, the 2020 census just came out. So would it look back from 2010 to 2020 as well as project forward for 10 years?
Yes.
And let's say you got a contract signed in January to do this. How long would a housing study like this take, ballpark?
We are looking at around 8 months. So September, October time period.
Thank you. That's what I needed.
Al, do you have any questions? No. Okay.
Okay.
I may ask some questions. I don't want to hold you guys up in the hallway if I could see you guys.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Never been so many pretty faces in here.
No,
Biggest crowd we've had.
except for McGinty.
Oh, my, well, he was called handsome.
Razors are outlawed in the treasurer's office, apparently. Jeez.
Biggest crowd we've had, then.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. Take care.
I seen him.
Want to just breeze through other real quick? Want to breeze through our other real quick?
Sure. Can we get a motion for the minutes from our last meeting on the 14th?
I'll make an amended motion with a couple spelling and or grammar changes. Tape 0.11.24 where it says they have inherit scales. I believe it should say inherent. And then also point factor manual, I believe should be point factor manual.
That too.
Those would be my amendments.
I'll second.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Can we approve the requisitions?
Some of,
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, how are you today? Good.
Look like I missed a fun meeting.
It was yeah, it was a good one. Okay, we are here to Joe Trillion and crew to talk about the Mental Health Community Partner Award.
Yes, we were intending September 21st to have our first annual dinner in like 3 years because we keep getting rescheduled by COVID. And once again, we got canceled by COVID. So one of the things that we wanted to do this year is we were looking at, rather than bringing in keynote speakers or anything like that, we really just wanted to honor the community and say thank you for everything people have done to allow us to continue to provide services in Richland County, to keep the doors open. We have elected to award the commissioner. So for the first time in ages, I'm coming to give you something
What?
rather than coming asking.
I gotta look around. Wait, what?
You on the schedule for next week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, what?
Well, we have a community partnership award. And this says, Richland County Mental Health Recovery Services Board presents this community partnership award to the commissioners in honor of your continued support throughout the COVID pandemic to our most vulnerable populations. And at the bottom, it says continuing a legacy of hope and success. And it's dated September 21st, 2021, which would have been our lovely annual dinner. But we wanted to give this to you because you came through it at a time where we were really hitting a critical period, allowing us to apply for some funds, to be able to upgrade our agencies and being able to do teleservices. And this has made a huge difference. It's allowed agencies to do more than just sitting in front of an old computer with a poor connection, trying to do one-on-one counseling. They've actually been able to do hybrid services of people that were ready to come back and said, you know, I can't do this over the phone, or I can't do this via video. they could come in the room. We have set up so that we can have some people on teleservices, some people in the room. So they've been doing hybrid services. And it's really made a huge difference to a lot of agencies that frankly would have never been able to afford that kind of equipment. So we thank you and we will present you with this award.
Thank you. Glad to help you in your mission.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
Hey, wait a minute. Cliff doesn't get the credit yet. He wasn't a commissioner then yet, was he? Oh, no, I'm just busting his job.
Planning on,
No, no, no. I don't need.
Come on.
see, Cliff would have been at the dinner, so he would have been accepting on your behalf. So our plan is we're getting pictures of all the awards that we're
Great,
giving
I get
out.
to stand
We're
next
gonna
to
put
18
together.
tall guys.
Hey, you might do something.
Right in front with her.
I already thought about that, but that'll look worse.
Let's smile, guys.
What fell, Daryl?
My cane.
Oh, wait, I went on video for some.
You don't want
Daryl's
that.
cane falling.
Amy, you need to get up here and
Actually, I'm gonna
You
have you guys, if you could, slide this side so that I can get the
in front of
Richland
the-
County.
Oh, you're a true photographer.
Oh, no, let's not call it that, but,
well, we've been getting pictures for all of these. We will have a montage that will
you're all good.
be put out on Facebook and everywhere else. It'll be famous.
Oh, boy.
Facebook famous.
Don't fall down.
Daryl's got a cane if you need it.
Stacy, that's an odd view.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Sorry. Oh,
All right.
There you go, Carl.
Thank
Good for you.
Smiles and eyes, so we're good. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean,
Thank you.
you do not have to give us recognition. That's not necessary, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
You don't get recognized often enough.
Oh, we get recognized on Facebook, just not always in the manner we wish.
In a positive way, we do consider you very much a partner.
Well,
I mean, it's a lot. No,
that's appreciated, Joe.
Well, we'll get out of your hair.
Councilwoman, how's it going in Ontario?
okay.
Keeping Hutchinson in line?
Darlene and I are playing
Meeting
phone tag.
tomorrow.
She said
I was gonna ask you about that.
If
We need to,
talk,
let's get
Sounds
creative.
like something we were already looking to do. I just need to figure out how it works into the start more for crisis services.
Let's figure that out. I know other cities, bigger cities, I mean, we're not New York, Denver, but
The biggest piece is how do we do the coverage? Because that's an expensive prospect, but it's something that we're definitely looking at on our crisis end. So
okay.
there's no reason why the crisis person couldn't.
Charlene said she's on it, so, okay.
We'll talk.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
See y'all.
Okay, it is 10:08. Unless somebody in the press has got a question, or you gentlemen have other, we will recess until 10:30, where we will have a public hearing. Yes, Brian. And also a bid opening. for Lucas Tower.
Could somebody text or email me a copy of the handout that Jodica and that group had? I think it was double-sided.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
We'll see that you both get that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that too.
Okay.
I always have some stud receiver.
Okay, this is the Board of Richland County Commissioners, and we are back in session. We have been joined by
Isaac Polk,
from,
Marzane, Shell and Sands.
Amanda Spencer with Hall and Associates.
okay, Captain Sweat and Sheriff Sheldon. Okay, and our, pardon me,
The news journals on the,
and Al Lawrence is with us. Mansfield News Journal. It is 10:30 and we have some bid openings for this tower. No, we're going to do first the public hearing on the SNS brine.
and Isaac is the new plant manager. So you're used to seeing Kent.
Yeah, I knew it was a different face.
is- So we need to go into the public hearing.
10:31, we are in a public hearing to talk about the aggregate. We have the application here, seems to be all in order. Gentlemen, you got any questions?
Nothing.
No, the only question I have is, this is only being spread on property owned by SNS, correct?
No.
No, that seems the way,
Well,
No, it's in,
I mean, that's the way it reads.
Yeah.
Does ask the board for,
Yes, it-
to apply salt brine from roadways and similar property within the property owned by SNS aggregates.
and we're,
so technically, yes, but you don't use it for dust control, correct, on
No.
your property?
No.
So they apply the brine to the grit in the dump trucks to use for ice control.
In the county, anywhere in the county.
Yes, on county roads, mostly townships buy it.
Yes, mostly township. I think Richland County switched over to salt primarily this year
Yeah.
to where we will mostly be selling to townships.
Okay, so.
But-
Be property only owned by.
under 4, source of brine to be used. It's got both Worthington Township, Richland County.
That's where it's
But I
coming
think
from.
What this is and like what my council had on here. It's only being applied on their property to the grit and the grit is being sold. So the application is on their property. Then they sell the grit, which then is applied to the road, but they're only spraying the brine on their property.
Okay, I get it. Got it. Okay,
And it's the way the code's written too.
You're
The way my resolution's written is the way the code's kind of written, but that is true. The brine is only on their property. They spray it. And then the townships or whoever come in and buy it and then put it on.
so being sprayed on the property and then applied. Okay,
Yes.
got it. Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Don't hear any. Al, you got any questions?
Sounds pretty standard to me.
You got it.
You adjourn the public hearing. 10:33.
It is 10:33 and we are adjourning the public hearing.
So you're back in regular
Back in session.
and you could pass the resolution if you like.
Can we get a motion to pass this resolution?
So moved.
Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Commissioner Vero,
Yes.
Commissioner Mears. Isaac, I will send it to you and file it with this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Isaac.
You guys.
Good luck with your promotion.
Thank you.
Don't spend all that money in one place.
Okay. Now let's have this open
Wonderful.
tower we're gonna build down the Lucas. In relation to the there,
Myself?
Hall
No.
is the name of the company. The mayor is Hall, HALL. The
No.
voice of the Lucas Cubs.
No, I'm a Galoni, so all my relations are down in Licking County.
Name or Merrick?
My maiden name is Bologna.
Laramie?
Baloney.
Galoni. Italian?
Yes.
I knew I liked
Oh,
her.
no.
Yeah.
That would put the majority of the room, right?
Both anyways. I knew I liked her.
I almost kept it.
You shut up.
Yeah. The long story behind why I didn't.
Mel was gonna keep hers, but she realized Vero's quicker to write than Montgomery. My wife's all about efficiency. not sentiment.
Which ink she'll save over the
I-
years.
Yep.
Okay, let's open these up and find out what we got.
You wanna go, Cliff? You want me to go?
And well, if I can, I got the, let's see. Spielman Electric.
Spielman?
So I've got a bid guarantee and contract bond. And their estimate is $667,000 even.
You said 667?
667.
Ooh, I'm close.
Almost satanic.
All right, that's true. And it is Halloween coming up on AMC. So I have Tri-County Tower LLC.
Okay.
I see a bid guarantee and contract bond. That was a lot easier than last time. And their total base bid is 653,500.00. Close.
The engineer take these things and make sure that we're all.
And I can, if you want to keep the originals, I can just make a scan or a copy, or I can,
Sheriff,
Okay.
here,
I can. bring them
captain,
back.
and they can do as they wish.
Okay. We've worked with both Spielman and Tri-County on a lot of towers.
Where's Tri-County located?
Tri-County is located, I believe it's up near Defiance, up kind of in the northwestern, and I think Spielman's up in the northeastern. They're both,
Talmadge, Ohio.
okay.
They have
They, Tri-County just finished up the monopole up in Williams County. We had a good experience with them. And Spielman is finishing up the Lancaster replacement tower, and they are starting on Bowling Green.
Do you feel good about both? And
Absolutely. They're both great companies to work with.
super. You will await your word,
Okay,
then we'll bring it back here and award a contract to one of them.
that sounds great. We'll put everything together here in the next day and get it over to Captain Sweat to forward on.
And then I guess that the next part of business for us with this project is I need to get a hold of the prosecutor's office. We need to finalize a draft and get it to the Village of Lucas for the lease of the fenced in area where the tower will be. So we can get started. I think that's very important that we have that done before we start the actual construction part. So I'll work with them to get that done. Tim Stoller's been great in getting us information back and
Yes.
forth.
Yep, he's been
So,
awesome.
I think I think other than the lease and then saying who's going to
Mhm.
be awarded the bid, I think other than that, I think we're right where we need to be. Is there anything that we're missing?
The only thing that I would like to do, as long as everyone's all right with it, is I'll just reach out to both of the companies, let them know about the meeting. But I'd also like to get from them when their quote from Nello expires. I know we talked about it last time. They typically need a PO from whomever's awarding the contract before they'll put the order in to Nello for the tower. And the quotes typically hold for about 2 weeks. So I'd like to get an idea of that and get that back to you so you're aware of that time frame.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions from Al?
Yes, I got one. What was the engineer's estimate on that cost?
About 660, 671.
Yeah,
It was 671 and 500. Because we had talked about possibly having to add additional money to the original 650. So it was 671 was the engineer's estimate.
Okay, that's you. Timeline for construction now that bids are in?
The bid documents indicate that the contractor will have 120 days once the contract is awarded. So typically they can finish up faster than that. The timing is usually contingent upon receiving the final approval from the Department of Compliance, the final building permits. We can't apply for those until we have a contractor, the final tower design, and the inspectors identified. So we have everything ready. We just need information from the contractor and then also the materials being delivered. But 120 days is what's in the contract documents.
Yeah, that's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Al. Any other?
Nothing.
Okay, it is 10:40 and we stand adjourned. That time, I'll tell you the story.
Absolutely. Always have time.
Okay, so I'm